I know heaps of people that pay the ATO directly going, oh, awesome, I'm earning these points. But they don't know that they could be earning the same points for half the price.
Welcome back to the SciChat podcast. Before we jump into this episode, I want to share a concerning statistic and an observation that was made apparent to us over the last 18 months or so over at Tradie Web Guys, which is the digital agency that we run that specializes in trade businesses. 8 out of 10 businesses that came to us, actually 85% of the businesses that came to us, with no exaggeration, they did not have the right foundations laid when they came to us looking for marketing related services. So what does that actually mean? Well, essentially there were people coming to us wanting to spend money, but at a greater look, they had so many holes in their bucket that spending money on the campaigns they wanted to get up and running was a complete waste. It was just going straight to water. The point is, guys, if you guys are looking at really growing your business, you've got to make sure you have solid foundations laid. We have, over the last 12 months, essentially revamped the whole way that we approach the digital space for trade businesses. And it all starts with laying the right foundations. So what does that look like for you? Well, does your website look right? Do you have the right conversion factors built onto the website? Are you capturing all of your leads and all of your contacts? Are those contacts being fed into a lead management system, which can help you, first of all, capture, but then automate and nurture your contacts? You do not want to be in that situation where you're constantly churning and burning leads. So guys, please, if you're doing any sort of outreach, any sort of marketing, make sure you have these things dialed in. Now, as I say, we've redesigned the whole way that we service our customers, and the first thing that we look at is foundations. So if that sounds like something that you want to at least get a different perspective on, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au, fill in the contact form and have the conversation. It's not going to cost you anything, but it could save you and make you thousands. I look forward to chatting with you. Enjoy the podcast. If you currently have a business and your business has expenses, which every business does, chances are, like myself, you are missing out on a huge opportunity. In fact, you are missing out on the equivalent of a return business class flight from Sydney to London for you and 2 friends every single year. I hope that got your attention, but trust me, it gets better and better. In this podcast, you're going to learn the following things: how to pay yourself and earn reward points on it, how to pay your team and also earn reward points on those, and how the wonderful government will help you fly business class for the rest of your lives. And here's the best part: this is money you are paying anyway. Anyway, enjoy the show. It is amazing. You are going to love it, and you will be reaping, pardon the pun, the rewards. Steve, welcome back to the SciChat podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Nice to be with you.
A bit of a technical hiccup there, but we're back on track now, hopefully. So, mate, thank you so much for coming back on to the show. I just wanted to get you back on to talk about, I suppose, like a bit of a recent experience that I've had, thanks largely to yourself, and just cast a bit of vision as to what that might look like for some of the listeners and viewers out there. This is not your first time on the show. We actually did a podcast a while back in relation to how you guys as business owners can leverage reward points and generate reward points to help you do things like upgrade and fly business class and all that kind of stuff. And I have asked Steve to come back on the show because I've just recently been through one of your program. And as a result, I reckon I've added about 1 million reward points a year to things that I was doing anyway. Now, I just want to quickly say before we jump into this too deep that, guys, we are going to mention different products, and we're probably going to mention different programs and airlines and credit cards and things like that in this conversation. None of it is financial advice. It's all just general advice. My goal for you guys is that off the back of this podcast, you go and do Steve's course so you actually learn how to do this stuff correctly, because it is super, super valuable. But please don't take any of this, what we're going to talk about today, as financial advice by any measure. So, Steve, thank you for coming back on the show. Your company is I Fly Flat. Of course, you're a bit of a celebrity these days. We see you on TV all the time and all over the place. So, I love the exposure you're getting for essentially helping people turn what they're currently doing today from an expense perspective into a machine that can help them fly around the world for free.
Yeah. I'll call it the points generating machine.
That's right.
And you know, sometimes I envy some of my clients because they can really ramp up their machine. Like they can earn millions or tens of millions of points per year, which is way beyond my personal capacity in
Sure.
my business. And then you sort of see them that they have this ability that basically they literally say bye-bye to the economy. They literally do not have to fly economy for the rest of their lives. And that's like a dream, that's so helpful because basically what we move someone from, you know, looking at the price of airfares, flying economy, maybe flying business class once in a while, but paying for it through their own savings. And we move their journey to where they're basically flying on points everywhere. And isn't it? As an advisor, that's the best thing you can do. I'll basically change your lives. I don't think they recognize it, but I think I have.
I'm pretty sure they do recognize it. And you're right, and it's amazing on spec because essentially it's a paradigm, right? Like it's just an alternate way of doing things that we're doing every day, and as a result, getting these amazing benefits from it. And as you mentioned offline before, like we're not hacking any systems here. Like this is what the system's actually designed for, but most people don't know how to leverage it. And I was one of those people. I mean, I've had the credit card where I was generating points and doing all that kind of stuff. But the bottleneck for me, and I suppose like coming back to just recently before I reached out to you to say, hey, this is what's the go here. I've sort of been on this financial journey lately and learning all about different things. And I was looking at sort of all our expenses, and I was thinking, what am I spending money on here consistently all the time and not getting any benefit from? And those things were the biggest expenses in the business. It was paying wages and salaries and paying the government tax. And I'm like, and paying ourselves as directors, right, of the company. And I was like, this is insane. Like, this is a huge amount of money we're leaving on the table potentially here. There must be a way to leverage this. And then, of course, I reached out to you and you were like, bro, just do the course. And so I did it. And yeah, I reckon as a result, it's probably added $1 million in reward points per year, to what I was doing anyway. So for you guys out there, like, tradies and contractors, like you guys have huge expenses every month in the space of, materials and and wages and all this kind of stuff. And I can almost guarantee you 99% of you guys are not capitalizing on this opportunity. I can guarantee you that that's the case. And some of you might have the card and you're like, oh, no, I've got this card, but I bet you're still not probably doing it right. And this is another thing, Steve, even like generating the points is one thing, and most people probably aren't doing it properly. But then the other thing is, it's like the use of the points. And this is what I found so useful in your course, because like and I'd recently done this, like where we have all these points that have been accumulated, and then we've used them on this big trip to, North America, but we didn't do like the way that you would recommend with the points and tax and that kind of stuff. And so we had the points, it was fine. And at the time you look at it and you go, well, what do I care? I've got the points. But the reality is, right, that's a stupid mindset, because there's a heap smarter way to do it. And I was talking to a mate the other day and he was saying, oh yeah, it's good. Like we bought a toaster, and I'm like, oh no, you didn't. It's just like the worst possible use of like reward points is when you spend it on that shit. So anyway, first of all, I'm very grateful for what you showed me in the last couple of weeks. It's been amazing. And second of all, I just want to really help, so I suppose, cast this vision and give these guys a bit of perspective on the low-hanging fruit they've got made available to them and how they can best capitalize on the situations that they're currently living in.
Yeah. It's so easy. Like in my mind, it's so easy, and it literally is to people leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
And just walking past it, but not because they do it deliberately. It's literally they have no idea that it's actually that simple. And I guess, like you just said, once you understand, I think number one is the value of points, because people walk past points and they go, "Oh, no, what good's that for?" But once you understand the value of points and what you can get for you, no one will be walking past points in the future. And then you start looking for all the ways that you can accumulate points, and then you're thinking about that. So like that's the reason why I think a large variety of Australian people are not earning points. They are earning points here and there, that they got a credit card, that they go to flybys and here and there, but they're not, I guess, no one's going to be like me, addicted to points. Because once you realize that points get you flying business class and first class, and you didn't have to pay anything close to the retail price, you realize that you're probably the smartest person on that plane, and you can do it again and again and again.
I mean, like literally the no-brainer for me, and for you guys out there that are listening and watching this, if this is you, then you can stop watching this podcast right now, go get hold of the course and go learn how to do this. Because if you're not currently generating any reward points for paying yourselves, paying your staff, or paying the government, then you are, I mean, that alone was pretty much enough to generate close to $1 million odd, reward points for me in a year. So if you guys aren't doing that, then just you can stop watching this now and go get the course and go do it, right? Because imagine that. Imagine like the whole concept around getting reward points for paying your staff. Like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, maybe, I don't know, like that was not an option.
You couldn't do it. Didn't exist. The option didn't exist. It's only in the last, I think, maybe 2-3 years, the option has existed to pay your wages, pay the ATO. And I guess what we're talking about when we say pay the ATO is not paying the ATO directly, but you've got to use one of these new sort of like payment aggregators or payment services. You go through them and you get the full number of points.
So how does that work? So for the people out there that aren't familiar with it, I mean, in truth, it was new to me. Actually, I think it was me seeing an advert. I had a phone call with one of them, which made me reach out to you because I was like, "What do you think of these guys? They sound a bit shonky." And you were like, but
it works. Yeah.
But like they're a payment aggregator essentially. And do you want to touch on what that actually is?
Yeah, that's right. So payment aggregators exist as a business, and what they do is they can charge your Amex card for the transaction. They get the money and they'll send the money to whoever you want to pay. And you sort of think, well, why would you do that? Well, number one is it allows you to pay anyone. So any supplier that does not take a credit card, it allows you to pay them on your credit card. And so that therefore it gives you interest-free days, it gives you a level of protection, and also gives you points, is what you're really aiming for. And when you're paying the ATO, if you pay the ATO with your credit card directly, they'll accept it, they'll charge you a fee, but you will only get half the points, or you might get no points because you're paying a government service. But if you pay through one of these payment aggregators, you'll get the full points that your card gets you. So that's really the trick around that. And if people don't know that they will get half points, and heaps of people don't know that. I know heaps of people that pay the ATO directly going, oh, awesome, I'm earning these points. But they don't know that they could be earning the same points for half the price.
Right.
Double the points for the same price. Just by doing one thing differently.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, like you don't know what you don't know, right? So there's that whole, like after going through it, it's actually not that confusing. But
no.
like once you sort of understand, like even at a noob level, like where I consider myself to be at right now, like it kind of makes sense. Like there's ways around these things, but I think for the better part out there, it's going to take like you guys to actually want to make this change, right? Because it's serious money you're leaving on the table, serious money, Now, the other thing as well we should probably touch on is that whole conversation, like, and you sort of mentioned it before, it's the like points for points. Like, what does it actually mean? Because you know how you've got you got your credit cards that have reward points, you've got your programs that have flyer miles and all this kind of stuff, and it is kind of confusing because you never actually know what compares to what,
It is confusing. I don't know if they design it to be confusing or they just did not make it simplified. But I guess, so, earlier you talked about now you earn additional million points. But there's two types. There's reward points or there's airline points. So airline points is what you actually utilize to book a flight. Reward points is just the intermediary currency in a way. So, for example, like on your Amex card, every dollar you spend, you earn 2.25 Amex points. But then Amex points get converted on a 2-to-1 basis, like halved, when it goes to airline points. And some people would then just look at that piece and go, I don't like this. I'm earning half the points. Oh, screw this. But what they're not looking through is then how many airline points do you need to fly? So what happens is, once you look through from the very start to the very end, you see that earning points is got massive value, But most people just stop at the first part and go, well, I don't want to pay a 2% fee to earn half the points. That sounds like a ripoff. Yeah, but they don't know that the other half is that if you then earn all these points, you basically end up flying business class for less than half price compared to buying a ticket. So the two halves never meet. And I think that's why most people have no idea, because they do half the calculation and it feels as a ripoff, and then they take off.
And that's really interesting, actually. That's, I suppose, that is something that most people probably get tripped up on. It's like, well, why would I pay this surcharge? Like,
Yeah.
but what they're not putting into perspective is the value of that point in relation to X,
Yeah.
Y, Z. In this instance, we're talking about, and I'm sure we'll get into this a lot more on the how much value there is in upgrading your, for flying business class in relation to paying cash for it. I mean, like, no one wants to fly economy, so everyone wants this thing. And if you're willing to pay 2% on a surcharge or sometimes less, then very often, like if you run the numbers, you are a mile in front.
miles in front. I guess the best way to put it is like, there's sometimes I ask the question, if you can buy two things in two different ways, if you get exactly the same thing for $500 or exactly the same thing for 500 coupons, which one you go for? And it's a trick question, because the thing is, how much are the coupons?
Man,
And
you know what? I went and watched that show. I know in your course you talked about this. You guys out there, and I'm not here to plug Netflix, but man, Pepsi, Where's My Jet? Go and watch that. That is a brilliant little series.
yeah, and that describes that sort of concept easily, because like the 500 coupons, if it only costs you $50 to get, and you swap that for something worth $500, the answer is super clear. But then sometimes a 500 coupons could cost you more than $500. So I guess that's what my job is: help people understand from a financial viewpoint how the whole thing flows from start to end. And that I think that's the single reason why people don't understand points, because they're not looking all the way through to the result.
And like this, I mean, so there are so many serendipities that come with this whole conversation, which like sort of skirt on the outskirts of what we're going to be talking about today. But in the space of some of these like incentives that you get with some of these cards and programs and things like that, they essentially make the cost of the card or whatever free if you use it. And I think that's the key, right? If you use it. And I think it's like anything, like if you don't use it to its capacity, like if you use something to its capacity, you'll get really good value out of it. And like, some of these credit cards, like this, American Express one was like $1,500 a year or something like that. It's going to cost me. But then I ran the numbers on it and I'm actually in front, because at the moment I'm paying things like, a Virgin Lounge membership, and I'm paying like the $500, Platinum Reserve card fee, and I'm paying this and I'm paying that, and then you're paying, and then there's the little things you don't even notice, like the discounts you get on like car rentals, and the discounts you get on like free hotel accommodation, like free nights in hotels, and discounts and all the different and the major hotels and all this kind of stuff. And you think, far out of actually, and restaurant vouchers, and there's so much stuff, and you think, you just like, where does it end? It just keeps going, and you think, my God, this is like the best value card I'll ever buy.
It is, like, it obviously has a big sticker price, like a big annual fee, and most people go, oh wow, $1,500. But yeah, like you said, it's all these bits and pieces in it. If you utilize it, you're getting well over the annual fee back. And I guess that's how they can offer the card at that price, because they know that a lot of people don't utilize those benefits, which is then paying for the people that are. So I get the whole
like a gym membership.
Yeah. That's right. You're potentially paying for electricity if you don't turn up. Someone else is using it. But if you do utilize it and you're smart about it, you're getting upside beyond what you can do in any other way.
So off the back of the course I went through with you, the decisions that I made were, I mean, I said never had any. The only credit card I ever owned was an American Express like Platinum Reserve card. We've never had a business credit card or anything like that. And I sort of wore that as a bit of a badge of honor now, where it is a badge of shame, like, because I feel like I'm an absolute noob, because I've just been missed out on all these years of, potential earnings on the point side of things. But essentially the the changes that I made was I upgraded that Platinum Reserve card to a Platinum Charge card, which costs an extra $1,000 a year for the card, but it earns us more points on like per transaction, which was the main thing for me. It gives you access to, I mean, you tell me, but from what I can gather, it seems like every lounge, and I'm not talking just Amex lounge, like every lounge on the face of the friggin' earth, there's like 1,400 of them or something.
Well, there's heaps of global lounges. There's the Amex Centurion lounges. There's the Virgin domestic lounges.
There's the what's the priority pass lounges.
Priority pass. The thing about the lounges is once you get the system right and you're earning enough points to fly business or first class everywhere, you're already getting access to the lounges.
Right.
So like I've hardly ever used a priority pass lounge because I'm always in the airlines lounge. Gotcha. So you got all these lounges everywhere, but that's just like a sideshow. The main show is the fact that you're flying first in business and you get access to the best lounge at the airport, which is the air lounge.
So, I mean, the reason that I upgraded that one was essentially because of all the, I mean, when I ran the numbers on it, I'm actually ahead per year on, like, by upgrading that card and paying $1,000 more. I'm actually ahead. I'm saving money on what I'm currently doing.
And that's even before you were thinking about the points, the value.
That was before points. That had nothing to do with points.
Other stuff.
I mean, in difference, in truth, the point difference is minuscule. It's small. It's something, but it's not massive. That wasn't the main incentive at all. And then the other thing that I did is I went and got myself a business credit card because I just figured I may as well be paying my staff and everything and tax and that kind of stuff and making points for it. It's a no-brainer. That was just essentially just going straight through as an EFT transaction, and ourselves EFT transaction where we're not making any money on it. So just no-brainer stuff, you know.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when sort of people talk about running a business and then they can have like a ute that's like as a business car, and they sort of think that's it, that's the extent. When you think about the ability to use points to fly, that I think that's the biggest perk of running a business, because you can actually utilize your expenditure in a way you can double dip, because you're paying for whatever you're paying for anyway, and you're getting these points on the side that you can utilize for travel.
And the other cool thing is, and I know you speak about this in the program, but you know, like the whole what you can actually do with the points in the space of, you know, you can fly your team members business class because you've got all these, like there's these, you know, Qantas business rewards system. You know, you can actually have all your team members in there, and you can be flying them around as well on the points if you wanted to. Like there's a lot of things that you can do which add a lot of value to, you know, people, you know, yourself and others within your network, community, family.
Just for the culture for your team, because this bit, what you mentioned, is still largely untapped, because most people, well, they fly their team around and they go, well, I'm not going to fly your business class because our business is not making gazillions of dollars. You're flying your economy. But once you can get the points and you can even do two things. You can either offer everyone a chance to upgrade, and if they're lucky, they get upgraded and the points come off your business program, or you can use the points to fly them business class, but it didn't cost you.
That's right.
$2,000 fare. And
this is what I found. It's still flabbergasting to me, like how, like, and the example that you gave in that course, and I called bullshit on it, and I went and looked it up. Sorry about that, but like legit, like like the example that you gave was actually more expensive to fly economy, buy an economy ticket. I think it was to London, off the top of my head, than it was to upgrade and fly business using points.
Yeah.
You're paying more to fly economy. I was like,
it sounds really like, how can this be, right? You always think, you're taught as a child, and there's no such thing as a free lunch, and if it sounds too good to be true, it must be a scam. But like that's why I did a course, because I was doing all these one-on-one calls, and there's only so many people I can help on a one-on-one basis. So I did a course in order to help more people and maximize their chance. But once you do the numbers, I'm an accountant, so my background, and so I trust numbers. Once you understand the numbers don't lie. They literally show that things are so cheap.
And look, in fairness, it can be kind of confusing when you've got all these different airlines that have their own programs and they've got their own, membership and like whatever the friggin' hell they call it. I had to go through and sign up for all of them. Thanks very much. Um, and it's still not super convenient to sit down and be like, well, okay, I want to go here. I've got to go through all these different airlines and figure out the best route to do it. But what I did find was interesting was how a lot of these, like you look at the American Express program, for example, like it gives you the ability to fly across 10 airlines.
Yeah, you can transfer the points over.
You can transfer the points to 10 airlines. So it doesn't even really, and like, because I've always had that thing, I'd love to get a Qantas reward card or whatever it might be. And then I thought, well, I never fly Qantas. Like I'm always going to like America, where we fly like United or Delta or something, or going to, Japan or something like that. Like it's never on Qantas. And I was like, that just didn't really make sense. And then realizing that I didn't actually have to have all my points tied up in an airline specifically, where you can get a card which gives you the option to, to have a choice. Like I think that's just gold.
Different credit cards have different partners. So, for example,
Right.
with American Express, that platinum card has 10 airline partners.
Yeah.
You can transfer to Qantas or Emirates or Virgin or Singapore, for example. Some other Amex cards don't have an option to go to Qantas. You can only go to others. And then some of your Visa, MasterCards might only have 3 partners or 5 partners. So therefore, every single card is a little bit different. Every single card has different airline partners, earns points at different rates. Some are capped. So therefore, some are capped as such that after you spend over $300,000 a year, you get no more points. So there's all these stuff happening around. So you can imagine people go, well, I have a mortgage with so-and-so, and they gave me a credit card, and I stuck with that credit card for 20 years. And you think, well, why didn't you go with this other credit card?
Yeah.
That offered so much better points. And mostly is because the mortgage card gave them annual free, and the other card cost them money.
And they don't realize what that free is costing them.
The free is costing them thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And actually, and then you talk about if people don't know how to use points, then what happens is they don't know that different airlines charge different points to fly the same place. And I think the principle is no different to if you're a tradie and you're sourcing suppliers. No, timber shop 1 is charging this much for this timber shop 2. So you'll shop around, you buy your timber from here, you buy your concrete from here, you buy your whatever from over here, because each one's selling stuff at different prices. You don't just go to the one supplier and just buy everything from them, because they might. And airlines are exactly the same. So Qantas will charge you just numbers off the top of my head. Say you do a return business class flight, Qantas will charge you anything between 289,000 to 318,000 Qantas points for a return. But Singapore Airlines will only charge you 261,000 points for a return. And actually, very, very interesting. Here's a hot tip. Cathay Pacific charges you about only 185,000 points.
And are those points for points? Is that the same? Is that reward? Yeah, right. Wow. So it's half the points for the same.
Half the points, because it's just
through Hong Kong instead of Singapore.
Yeah, you just go by Hong Kong, but 170,000 Cathay points to get you a return business class, compared to 318,000 Qantas points. So you get to see that there's massive differences. So you've got to be good at earning the points, but you've got to be good at spending the points, and which is exactly just like running a business.
You're right. You're bang on there, and like, and that's kind of, I think, why I started to geek out on this a bit. So I was like you, as a business owner, you kind of this sort of piques my interest now. I'm like, oh, okay, I can see what's going on here, and I was like pleasantly surprised to see, first of all, the number of airlines that that I could choose from, and I mean, like, I suppose, and this is what you would go through in the course, right? It's like different things suit different people. Yeah, like, and I know, because I was bugging you, I'm like, just tell me which card to do, and you're like, just didn't even answer me. You're like, okay, he clearly wants me to do his course, I'll go do it, and I get it now. I get it now because it's different for everyone, right? And like if you do a lot of domestic travel and that kind of stuff, then you may be better off with a card that earns you a pure Qantas points or whatever the heck it is, right? So it really is a case by case scenario. But I was really pleasantly surprised to see, first of all, the options that suited me. So we fly to North America a lot, we fly to Japan, fly to New Zealand. We don't really go much any other places, really, to be honest. Like, it's basically ski or the Maldives, skiing or surfing, and how many flights are available, how many seats are available. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, once you start looking.
Yeah, like, it's incredible. And you've got to, but the thing is, you've got to look, right? Like, and this is, I suppose, why you have to sign up for all these programs, because then you got to log in and you go, okay, well, let's check this airline, let's check this airline.
Yeah.
And really, the difference is just where is your pit stop, isn't it?
Yeah. Where your transit point is, and also different airlines have different availability.
Sure.
Inventory. So, like, you've got Qantas, and Qantas has X number of seats available to them, and Virgin has X number of seats, Singapore has X seats, Emirates. So even though some of these airlines are partners with each other, they always have more seats for their own member, and you're their own member if you got their points. Right. So that's how you sort of like pick the sweet spots for each one. Because a lot of people just go, oh, well, we just earn Qantas points because Qantas is the biggest carrier in Australia, flies everywhere. So in a way, it is the default choice. But if you're going somewhere for a specific, like USA every year, then you want to pick the airline that gets you to USA with the lowest point, potentially lowest taxes, and the most number of flights. And that may or may not be Qantas, it might be some other airline. But you've got to pinpoint that one and then smash it. So therefore, every single dollar you're spending, you're earning points with that purpose. And then
and I feel like it's such an advantage being a business owner. Like, when you look at this whole conversation, because it seems like the things that could potentially trip you up if you weren't a business owner could be things like, well, I have to travel on a specific day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have the flexibility to say, well, no, I'm just going to go 2 days later on this flight because there's a seat available 2 days earlier.
Yeah.
So like you got, and then the other major advantage, of course, is the fact that you just accumulate so many points for nothing. Like, you're doing it every day, you're probably not to your potential.
Yeah. And as your business grows, you earn more points. So naturally, so it's like, as an individual, to earn points by spending, well, there's a conflict, because as an individual, you don't want to spend money, you want to save money. So therefore, if you're trying to earn more points, you can't, because you're trying to sort of cut back. But as a business, you're also not going to be ludicrous with your spending, but you got to spend to grow. So you're paying for these things to grow your business and earn more revenue.
And in most cases, I can guarantee it, in most cases, the majority of people out here that are watching this, and probably the very vast majority, and I mean, you would know the stats better than I, but you're spending the money anyway. You're just not doing it in a way that's giving you these amazing rewards. And that is it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. I think another thing is that most people don't know how many points it is to fly somewhere.
Sure.
So very often I'll get queries from people say, oh, well, Steve, like, yeah, Qantas points used to be good, or whatever points used to be good, but now it costs 1 million points to fly somewhere. And I'm like, 1 million points? No. They haven't changed. Nothing's changed. It's always the same number of points, but they do it wrong. They search under the wrong system, and they don't understand the difference between points plus pay and classic rewards or saver rewards. So therefore, they search, and they want to fly on a specific date, for example, and they go, oh, there's no seat, but show me 1.2 million points. Oh, man, what a ripoff. The points must have gone up. Well, that's because you're not looking on a date that has a reward seat, because a reward seat, they haven't changed. They've always been the same. And it's a distance-based, like I talked about in the course, it's a distance-based pricing. It's not a seasonality. It's not a demand. So whether you choose to fly every year at Christmas, if you use points, it's the same number of points all the time. Whether you book a flight tomorrow or Christmas or Easter or whatever. But if you pay money, as you know, prices go
up and down. Interesting. And I suppose that then means that you just, like, you've got to be a bit more prepared if you want to reap the rewards of it, right? Like, it's not like you're not going to be able to book a flight to London next week. Like, you've got to be
maybe but not. That's the thing. Maybe not.
Right. But whereas if you plan, you're like, well, in 8 months I want to fly to London, then you 95% of the
Much
time you're
higher
going to
chance.
land a seat whenever you want it.
So it definitely helps if you're a planner. And
Yeah.
I would challenge people who say they're not a planner, that if you knew that you could fly
Oh
to,
yeah, 100%.
you would be a planner. Like, why wouldn't you?
There is no question. I bet you there's just people out there now that have just pulled the car over, sitting on the side of the road, going on their phone, Googling different like cards and this kind of stuff. Like it's just a no-brainer. Anyway, we could talk about hours and hours on this. Like, I've just been geeking out so much on it. But I do just want to say, for you guys out there, do yourself a favor, go and get a hold of Steve's course. I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a like a special link or something. Did I see that? Anyway, whatever, we'll figure it out. But go check out the show notes and do the freaking course. Okay, just trust me, do the course. It'll be worth the money you spend on it. It will make you a shit ton of money. Like this, it's insane the amount of money you guys are leaving on the table. I can't even begin to fathom it. So, is there anything that you wanted to close on?
Oh yeah, I just think that it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
And you can earn points starting from tomorrow or 2 weeks time or sort of whenever.
Hmm.
The course has got 4 hours of content, so this basically covers everything I know. 10 years of knowledge smashed into 4 hours. Ideally, I'd like to make it shorter, but there's just so much to say.
I'd just like to say on that, it's 4 hours on normal speed. It didn't take me 4 hours.
You smashed it. Oh, that's a good way. That's a good way.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. And we also have a one-on-one session as well. So for business owners, generally about 2 mil turnover, where we just do very specific, their situation, what should they do, and that's smashed over in an hour.
Actually, that's a really good point, because your business is essentially a concierge service which does that for the client. So they haven't got to go looking through the different websites and stuff,
Yeah.
right? That's what iFlyFlat is.
Yeah, tailored
Okay.
to what's for them. Because if they want to fly America and New Zealand and that's all they want to do, you don't need to know about airline A, B, C,
Right.
D, E, F, G. You just need to know about the ones that matter and then just get on with it.
So yeah, and typically what sort of businesses would be what's the avatar for that?
Yeah. So basically, if you spend a lot of money paying bills, that you can't. It's all dependent on expenses. So
Sure.
we charge. We price based on turnover because everyone knows the turnover. No one knows the expenses.
Right.
So the one-on-one session basically is all designed. It definitely pays for itself, and it pays for itself every year because you save so much money.
Yeah, so if you're one of those people like, you know what, I just want the result and I can't be bothered figuring all this stuff out myself, which he teaches you in the course, by the way. He's not like trying to golden handcuff you to anything,
No.
but there is a service there that can provide that for you. Steve, thanks so much for spending the time. Thank you so much for enlightening me yet again. I'm looking forward to the next enlightenment that I get from you, whenever that's going to be. So I'm sure there's something up your sleeve that's coming in another 12 months, which I can't wait to hear about. But guys, I'll put links to where you can get hold of everything in the show notes. So head across to thesiteshow.com and search iFlyFlat, and we will you'll be able to get access to Steve, the course, everything. Have I missed anything, Steve?
No, nothing. And just actually, when you do fly first in business, just send me a photo of you.
Oh yes, of course. It's iFlyFlat, iFlyFlat, all together across all social, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go follow him on social, and you can get as envious as I do with all of his photos sitting in first class drinking champagne.
And everyone can do it. That's the answer.
Mate, thank you so much.
Cool,
listeners, viewers, that is a wrap, and I can't wait to hear your feedback on this.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
A big shout out to Stephen Huey, aka the Points Whisperer, for coming on the show and sharing his wisdom with us yet again. To get notified of our upcoming videos, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and please be sure to share this video with somebody else. Also, while I've got you, hit up the description below for resources and a special coupon for Steve's amazing course, which has basically taught me how I can generate an extra 1.5 million reward points every single year for essentially doing nothing different.